We're stupid, we're lazy, we don't care. Oh, but if you just tried a bit harder, do you know how hard we're trying? What helps immensely is knowing about ADHD. Our brains are wired differently.
We have so many adults getting diagnosed, kind of going, I wish when I was younger. And then we have so many kids being diagnosed who are then, the system hasn't changed.
No.
So we just see so many kids being lost.
Yeah. Generally, there are differences in attention, memory, organisation, problem solving, the ability to self-regulate. If it hits a 2 out of 10 for you, it's a 50 out of 10 for me. We're actually quite fabulous, but the world isn't designed to cater for brains like ours. All of this is about awareness, but also a willingness to be gentle with yourself and not berate yourself and put yourself down. Like, you've just been conditioned to believe that something is wrong with you and wrong with your brain. Nothing is wrong with you and nothing is wrong with your brain, but it is different.
Hello and welcome to Happy Mum, Happy Baby, Parenting SOS. Now, parenting is a challenging journey for anyone, but when you're navigating it with ADHD, it can feel even more demanding. We're starting to see a lot more information out there when it comes to supporting children with ADHD, which is amazing. But what if you're a parent with it? Well, today we are super lucky to have Dr. Mina Conkbayir with us. Mina is an expert in neuroscience and has worked in early childhood education and care for 25 years. Mina is also a parent and was diagnosed with ADHD herself in 2023. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
How
on.
are you?
What have you let yourself in for? Blimey. Be interesting.
It will be interesting.
Yeah.
It will be interesting. I feel like we might already need an E on this episode.
Yes.
Already.
Yes.
It's going to happen, isn't it?
It is. It is. Let's just go with the flow, you know.
Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
I guess to kick us off, first of all, you and your husband have a podcast together where you do talk about ADHD, and it's absolutely incredible. And you're shedding so much light in this area for adults with it, because I think there's so much about children, you know, and so as parents, you know, we're constantly looking at our kids going, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And we hear from adults who are like, oh, if I had known when I was younger, you know, how life would have been different. But I guess let's start with the term ADHD, because actually that's something that you're not particularly fond of.
No, and why would you be? How could you be? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There's just so much confusion around that term, and the current authors of the DSM-5 TR, the Diagnostic Manual for Mental Health Conditions, the latest edition, they acknowledge there's nowhere in the scientific research that has actually proved that ADHD is a disorder of the brain. So why on earth are we still using that term? It's far too vast, it's nebulous, and it isn't accurate, and it just makes us feel like we are to blame for this, what is essentially a neurological difference. We are not consumed by deficits, disorders, disease, and all things negative. We're actually quite fabulous, but the world isn't designed to cater for brains like ours, which is kind of strange, because since time began there have been ADHDers. They just haven't been diagnosed as being ADHD.
Well, what are the symptoms and the setbacks actually of ADHD?
It varies for everybody, but generally there are differences, and I'm not saying disorders I'm saying differences in, for example, attention, memory, organisation, problem solving, and the ability to self-regulate, which means our ability to manage our emotions and the consequent behaviours. So if you were to ask me how my ADHD manifests, anyone and everyone would say emotional regulation.
Really?
My daughter would be at the front, back and, you know, middle of that queue. Organisation, I am so meticulously organised, but I have problems with processing what I'm reading or being told.
Wanting to be organised and getting on top of things before... Does that help you almost feel emotionally regulated, having that organisation, but actually also that organisation kind of feeling like it's slipping away sometimes as well?
Yeah, big time. I mean, we have differences in dopamine uptake, right? The reward and the hormone that kicks you into action, basically, along with adrenaline. So there are differences there. Is it a deficit? It's unproven. Is it a regulation problem? We don't know. Yeah. The jury's out. But we can have real problems in initiating tasks and following them through as well. So even to get to the point of organising something or doing something in a timely manner can be really difficult for us. But I think what helps immensely is knowing about ADHD and reflecting then on how it shows up in you. So that task initiation, for example, what can you do to push past that? Or it also might be procrastinating or procrastivity, as we call it. So you're procrastinating, but you're still doing something, but not what you're meant to be doing, right? You go on side quests. Is that something that trips you up? Is it lateness? So getting those around you to also be honest and saying what frustrates them about your how it shows up and what you can do about it together. So I mentioned my 12-year-old. She will write me post-its to remind me. She will send me text messages. Whatever I ask her to do or what she thinks is a good idea to do, we'll do it. So we problem solve together instead of just staying focused on but you didn't do that, you did that wrong. There is a lot going on there that really deserves to be understood instead of being mislabeled and criticised. Yeah. Because we can push past these traits and they can become strengths.
When you've got, the best of intentions, but you get sidetracked or you don't, things don't work out in the way you intended, do you then get, is there shame attached to
There's
that?
massive shame in being an ADHD. You think from childhood we receive approximately, the science tells us, 20,000 more corrective and negative messages from our teachers, authority figures, parents, primary carers than the neurotypical child does. That's all throughout childhood into your adolescence when that developing brain has another seismic shift, and then into adulthood. We are led to believe that we're stupid, we're lazy, we don't care. Oh, but if you just tried a bit harder, do you know how hard we're trying? You haven't got a clue. So I really think that we need to spend more time understanding what ADHD is and what it isn't. I'm not saying it's an excuse for, but it is definitely the reason why we are the way we are. And instead of trying us to change who we are, enable us to succeed then, and every week we interview guests. I harp on about the education system. Teachers, I'm not cussing them, I am one, and I know I have never ever forced a square peg to fit in a round hole. I've always met my students exactly where they are, and it's never failed any of them.
That makes me feel really emotional, Mina, because so many teachers don't. And I feel like the education system is I think at a point where we have so many adults getting diagnosed, kind of going, I wish when I was younger. And then we have so many kids being diagnosed who are then, the system hasn't changed.
No.
And so we just see so many kids being lost.
Yeah, it's all about zero tolerance to behaviour. Right? Well, I don't care about the reasons why. You did that time out, you did that isolation. Well, we know the school to prison pipeline works via detentions, isolations, exclusions, permanent exclusions. Then where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? One way. And it can all be avoided if we dared to do differently and put that child first. Forget about your outcomes, because once you have a happy child, that child will thrive beyond any expectation and perceived barriers. They will, I know, because I've done it. Not one of my students failed, but if you walked in as an inspector, you'd think, oh my God, how the hell did she get in? Because, they were allowed to wear hoodies. If they wanted to chew gum because it's a stim, they could chew gum. I had students that didn't want to wear socks. They wanted to feel the texture of the carpet under their feet. I had them working on their tummies, leaning against the walls, leaning over a chair. We'd go out to the local green spaces. Whatever they wanted, they had it. My goodness, some of them are now foster care champions, midwives, teachers. One's a neurosurgeon, because you believe in that child, no matter where they come from, what they've gone through. There is no reason why they are destined to fail.
We talk a lot about parenting children with who are ADHDers, but what if you are the one that has that diagnosis? What are those challenges?
Firstly, if you suspect that you're ADHD, I would recommend you do seek out an assessment and get
because you weren't diagnosed until 23.
Yeah, but it never occurred to me, even though anyone would.
Did it not?
No, because you see, I'm not using the word symptoms on purpose because it's not a medical illness, it's not a disease. My behaviours or ADHD behaviours typically greatly overlap with trauma and complex trauma, especially in terms of cognition, emotional ability. And because I said earlier on, the three key brain regions affected are the hippocampus, which is the seat for memory learning, memory recall, the amygdala, which is like the brain's panic button, emotional centre, and the cortex, which is where that rational thinking before you act, takes place. And they're all very similarly affected. Same with bipolar, actually. So it's very difficult to start unpacking it and saying, right, you're in that box, because there is a great overlap. And my childhood was absolutely carnage, littered with traumatic experiences. And, I mean, the legacy of that parenting, which is probably something we should touch on here, it impacts me greatly as a parent, and I hate myself for it. So ADHD and parenting, I would say get that diagnosis, and from there seek to understand what it means. How does it affect you? How does it frustrate you if it does? And what can we do together? That's how I go about it. And if you can, ADHD coaches are very popular now. Make sure they're accredited fully and regulated. They can be very affordable. Online webinars you can, access for free. Attitude, ADDITUDE, they're a great website with tons of resources. So there is help out there, but I think understanding actually, are you ADHD first, and taking it from there is really, really important.
Yeah. When you have, your baby, you come back from hospital, everything is so overwhelming and new, and, it is overstimulating.
It's so strange. Like when I had to have a C-section, a cesarean, and that day before I went in, I was walking along the Euston Road, preparing myself, going, well, this is the last day as a non-parent.
Yeah.
Ooh, and then the next day, I'll come on to the postnatal depression in a sec, but I remember then with my baby in the buggy, walking along the upper street, places where I've clubbed and stomped about for years. Everything, Giovanna, felt so different. I felt like an alien on earth. It was very overwhelming. I'll never forget that feeling. But eventually, over time, things do slot back into place. Yeah. You have to give yourself some credit, man, and just say, whoa, I've just gone through a seismic trauma psychologically and physically. And that's if it goes okay, let alone any birth trauma. If you haven't got supportive family around you, or a partner, if your child is born without any differences. There's a lot and I think women are so consumed by these societal roles and expectations. They've got to be perfect and do this a certain way and feel a certain way by a certain time. No, you haven't got to do anything. It's all nonsense. You have to be led by how you're feeling and really honour that and respect it and give yourself what you need in order to feel okay. Because if you're not okay, hey, your baby's not going to be okay.
No, exactly that.
And it manifests very quickly because feelings of stress, toxic stress particularly, they affect our baby from in utero. Studies are showing that time and time again. A quick saliva test will demonstrate cortisol levels in our babies.
When it comes to things like organisation, even just, I think because going through, life pre-baby, you kind of work out how you're doing it, even if you find out your ways that work for you. And then a baby comes along and it feels like all of that gets chucked out of the window.
Yeah.
And if someone has been diagnosed with ADHD, is that even trickier to work out how that slots into?
Massively so, because, during pregnancy, progesterone and estrogen levels rocket.
Yeah,
right? We know that they have to, but when we have the baby, they plummet. estrogen inextricably linked to dopamine. You know, it regulates its uptake, it minimises the deterioration of dopamine. So when these things change, immediately it affects our mood and our behaviour and our ability to tap into our executive functioning skills, all the things you need to be an organised, perfect mummy. So I think we need to be told this stuff. We're not going mad. We're not insane. We're not destined for depression. I mean, these things are very likely, but please understand it is so expected and normal, whatever that is. Your brain is going through a massive flux. I think they say it takes up to 2-3 years for hormonal levels to even out post-pregnancy and birth, and that's if you're lucky and you've got the support networks around you. So also, you know, we're fighting not a losing battle, but in terms of ADHD research and support for girls and women specifically, let alone regarding puberty, pregnancy, perimenopause and menopause, the research is scant. I think they say it's at 2%.
No.
Yeah, it's ghastly.
Do hormones affect things like that? Or I guess, is it just because that kind of makes you,
it's
you know...
completely the fuel.
We all know it makes us feel dysregulated in some way, you know, that we all feel a bit wavy. And so it must just...
It is. It's completely down to hormonal flux, completely down to it. So we have to give ourselves that grace and say, you know what, it's all going to go nuts for a couple of years, and I have to do what I need to do to help boost my dopamine levels, my serotonin levels. Hopefully the oxytocin, the love hormone levels are going to be boosted when you're looking at your baby, giving him that eye contact. So when you know that absolutely it's driven by a hormonal change, then what can you do to up those hormonal levels naturally? I think it was Denise Welsh, Katie Price swear by estrogen gel. Absolutely massive. But do your reading, speak with your GP or healthcare practitioner.
That also helps with the perimenopause.
Massively so. And what else can you do to naturally boost your dopamine levels and estrogen? Get outside, go for gentle walks in nature. I am a massive fan of gyms because of my ADHD and how it manifests. I have to get it out of myself 3 hours every morning so I don't feel as wriggly and creepy in my skin. It could be meditation. It could be yoga. I know people laugh at meditation, but it's scientifically proven to strengthen the prefrontal cortex, that seat of rational thinking, and it helps to quieten our brain's panic button, the amygdala. We battle with so much as women and it's dismissed, and we have to take this very seriously and enlist the support we need.
How can parents, or should parents, talk about ADHD with their children?
Absolutely. Age, stage, appropriate understanding. You have to. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to them as well, because we can be frustrating. We really can. Like my RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Oh my goodness, I am so sensitive to any perceived criticism or a feeling that I haven't done enough or I've failed them or something wasn't appreciated. And again, the root of that is we're a bit, not crappy, but we find it difficult to regulate our emotions and our behaviours. So, like, you know, there was a chipgate thing with me that we joked about with Denise Welsh, and it was when we went on holiday. And instead of getting just one portion of chips for my daughter on the beach, I got 2 so everyone can share, and everyone took the mick. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm a Turk, and there was 7 hours until lunch was maybe going to be ready. I need her to be fed and hydrated. Oh, the way they went on and the facial expressions of my daughter, like, I disappeared for the most of 2 days.
Really?
And then we went back at the airport, you know, convened, you know, the family meeting, said, look, I am sorry. I took it too far, but I was really distressed. I know it's stupid too, but I feel things very deeply. I said, if it hits a 2 out of 10 for you, it's a 50 out of 10 for me. So it's about I can be like this. It will help me if you're like that more or not so much like that. And that will depend on the parent and the child and the partner based on how that ADHD manifests for that parent. But no, we're not all a bit ADHD. Yes, we all have difficulties sometimes with short-term memory or, organising something. But the difference is it's a neurotype. Our brains are wired differently. It is structured differently, and our brain regions, key brain regions, operate differently. We have very different hormonal levels, key hormones that play a role in rational thinking and emotion regulation.
So on Happy Mum, Happy Baby, Parenting SOS, what we do is we ask you your 3 most common asked questions. You've touched on the first one, but I want to dive into this. Your first one is, how can I manage RSD as an ADHD mum? Explain what it is and then answer the question.
So RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, is basically, to put it bluntly, us overreacting to something very disproportionately.
Is it overreacting and overthinking? That fact that you're kind of then looping how everyone reacted?
Absolutely, because that overthinking can stay with you for years. It can disrupt your sleep for years, which it does. I can remember things from when I was a very diddy child. And it's like, let go. You can't let go. So you just have to find ways of coping with it. And
how can people cope? Can they manage that?
So I've noted down the STAR method, which I am getting better at using. So STAR is stop, think, act and recover. Critically, it's getting to know your triggers. What upsets you? Any particular times of the month? Is everything okay at home? Are you more sensitive because it's that time of the month, for example, or after? Whatever, something's happened. What is the reason behind that trigger? But a big thing is acknowledging that your feelings are valid. You're not being stupid. Yes, to the outsider, it's dramatic, but valid. But I feel like this happened, or you said that to me. I'm not saying you made me, but I did end up feeling a way. So sit with that feeling, because when we try and push it down and mask it, then you know that when you've shaken that bottle of fizzy drink and then you take the lid off, so just go, I feel crap about that. I really am upset. Okay, well, how can we work with that? So reflecting on all of that individually, but also with your family, and how you can overcome those triggers so that you are able to just hit pause and think before you act in future instances. And knowing that all of that takes persistence. Our brains are forever malleable. The harder work we put in, the better it's going to be for changing those neural pathways and ultimately our behaviours. And also, I'm getting better at practicing affirmations, positive affirmations, and that will depend on your situation or on what your triggers are. But I will say, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of respect. I can make this change. And I do the same for my daughter. And she's now journaling and she loves it. It's her go-to in times of emotional distress. Whatever you find that works for you, please use it. And don't think, no, it's crap, it hasn't worked. You've got to stick at it.
Yeah.
Everyone is different. You've met one ADHDer, you've met one ADHDer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess when it comes to RSD, a massive thing with that is awareness then.
Yeah,
knowing
absolutely. All of this is about awareness, but also a willingness to be gentle with yourself and not berate yourself and put yourself down. Like, you've just been conditioned to believe that something is wrong with you and wrong with your brain. Nothing is wrong with you and nothing is wrong with your brain, but it is different.
Absolutely. Another common question is, how can I advocate for my child at school?
Literally yesterday, I had to blast the head teacher and the head of drama because she forgot a bit of homework. My daughter is so diligent. She makes herself ill from being such a perfectionist and trying really hard. She forgot the homework. Yeah. She got 2 behaviour points. I said, can you tell me exactly where in the scientific evidence it is proven that giving a behaviour point is going to improve memory, right? Also, how does it correlate with behaviour transgressions? It's not disrespectful. It's not, encouraging disruption. No, you're absolutely right. Sorry, we will get that removed. So what I'm waffling to say is never, ever, ever be scared to stand up for your children and challenge what's going on.
I wonder if sort of adult ADHDers who will have perhaps had a certain experience at school, who might have felt like they had to to mask or were treated a certain way, labelled as naughty, whether actually when it comes to advocating for their children in school or their children being in school and having to deal with that, whether there's different sort of triggers that come along with that environment.
Massively. It's very common for a lot of parents to want to stay away from anything to do with school because of their own bad childhood experiences. But I would say get to know your parents, teachers, build a rapport if you've got the time and the energy to do so, and just flag that, you know, you have had these bad experiences and you just want them to enable your child to feel safe enough to succeed.
Yeah. Your next most asked question is, what can I do instead of punishing my child?
We can look at the reasons why the behaviour is happening. And I like to encourage teachers, adults, social workers alike, police officers, foster carers to think of behaviour as that iceberg, right? I know it's well overused, but it's clearly not used enough.
Yeah.
So at the tip of the iceberg, we see shouting or swearing, hitting, throwing furniture. But what's going on beneath that behaviour? And the antecedents? What's just happened? Mm-hmm. Right? Have you just shouted at them? Have they been humiliated by a teacher? Have they been ignored? Have they been shamed publicly? What has gone off? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they bored? Are you not stimulating them enough? Are you not emotionally present enough? What's going on? Mm-hmm. But most importantly, as a teacher, yes, and a parent, we can do emotion coaching, simple 3 steps. And emotion coaching enables us to acknowledge fully that all emotions and feelings are great. There are no negative emotions. There are no bad emotions. Mm-hmm. Let's just stop mislabeling anger as bad. It's a brilliant emotion. We have to get angry. Otherwise, we'll be done to for all our lives. We won't care about the injustices that happen. Jealousy, that can be telling us, actually, what do I need then? Is something missing from my life? Frustration, or what needs to change in this environment? Okay, so all emotions are okay, but not all behaviours are okay.
Yeah.
All right, so 3 simple steps are recognising and empathising with your child's feelings. So instead of saying, oh, stop crying, cry baby, boys don't cry, all these crap things, you know, acknowledge, I can see you're really upset. That must have really upset you. And then you'll find that in seconds and minutes, that anger is dissipating, boy. Yeah. It's like, why? Because it's been given a safe outlet. Mm-hmm. It's safe.